Do, 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 do. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are here today, and this is the Sports is My Love Language podcast. I'm your boy, Dropping Dimes, and I'm here with my crew. I got my boy, Sean the Ref. I got Petey Pablo, a.k.a. El Schefter. I got Jenny Vega, the news on the news. I got Javito, and I got my man, A.K., and we're here again, off the beaten path, taking up topics that mainstream media really isn't covering all that in depth, or if they are, they're taking very common angles. And I got 6 personalities that are definitely going to put their spin on things, or, approach it from a different angle. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to our guy, Dre. Dre, what's going on, brother? I know you're busy doing big boy things. Hopefully we'll see you next week. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jen. Jen, you had a really cool topic you wanted to talk about, and it's the human side of sports. Let us know a little bit more. Jen, you there?
Yes. Sorry about that. So I wanted to talk about the human side of athletes. Too often we're judging players without knowing what could possibly be going on. You may have seen on our thread, we had Mike put up a story about one of the players for the Steelers whose father was basically told he only had maybe 2-3 weeks at the most left to live. And the son wanted to make sure that the father got to see him play in person. But what wasn't on that post was that the grandmother is also terminal. So this guy's got 2 family members at home, basically on the verge of death's door during the holidays. And I can tell you, looking at his stats, you can definitely see that something was going on at home. Between that, we had Tiger back in action, which was awesome for him. And his comment on the whole tournament, that the biggest takeaway for him was that he got to play again, and he did it because of his son. He didn't do it for the tournament winnings. He didn't do it to get the belt. He did it because his son wanted him to do it. This one hits the hardest. I did not post it in the group, but Ryan Kelly, he and his wife unfortunately suffered a miscarriage within the last couple of weeks, and the wife was 19 weeks along.
That is miserable, man.
For those of you who are friends of mine, you know that it took us 3 years to have our daughter. We actually had a miscarriage shortly after we got married. And I can tell you the scariest thing going to doctor's appointments once you get pregnant after trying for so long is hearing that heartbeat. So that story really hit home for me. And can't even imagine. It was a little girl that they lost. And too often we judge these guys and their playing performance on their abilities. And the truth is, what's going on at home. We don't know any of that. And I think we need to keep in mind that they're human beings. They're not just players. They're not robots. They're not programmed to just play. They have other things going on in their lives.
I think you're hitting an interesting point, because there's 2 schools of thought when it comes to athletes. The one school of thought is, they get paid a shitload of money. Shut up and dribble. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They get paid. They don't have the right to. And you hear that a lot, especially when you're going down threads. You go into ESPN, you go into these threads, and you'll see a couple of 100 guys that are miserable with their lives. Or better yet, I don't want to say that. I don't want to judge people. I'll just say a lot of blue-collar guys that have to, get their hands dirty. They come home, and they're like, damn, I had a rough day at work. So they look at these athletes like, the ball's on you. You get to play a game that I would love to play, and you're going to complain about your everyday. No, I don't think so. What I think people need to understand is that, number one, money doesn't fix everything. You know what I mean? A lot of times money gives you, it does give you access to some solutions, but it doesn't eliminate problems. You know what I mean? Like there's plenty of people that die with millions in their pocket. You know what I mean? And the thing about it is we have to ask ourselves, all right, what's the line? What's the line? Are you a professional? You get paid. You got to suck it up regardless of what you go through at work? Or do we choose to acknowledge the human side of them? See, here's where a lot of people go wrong. They're like, I can't call out of work. I don't have the privilege of being able to do that. I can't whatever, blah blah blah. And they put themselves into the equation. And I'm not one of those people. I'm like, look, dude, at the end of the day, you're a human being. You're gonna go through shit. So like, I'm curious to know, where do kind of people fall in that realm? Are you you get paid to a job, or are you more like, okay, you know what, I see the human side of things as well? I mean, obviously it could be both, but I would like to hear like what side you lean on more. Sean, where do you kind of lean with it?
Wow, this is a really interesting topic. Everybody's human, and I have to agree. Everybody's human, but being in that aspect, they don't indulge what's going on, so none of us know what's going on in these people's lives. So it's hard for us to sit back and just, when a person doesn't show up, like Kyrie Irving. I'm a huge Nets fan, and like he was taking time off for stuff, and like nobody knew, and right away he was typecasted as like show up. He doesn't show up. He's a cancer to the locker room. He's all this. What's going on in this guy's head? What's going on in this guy's life? We all had problems. We all had issues going on in life, and I picture it just in my work environment alone, and my coworkers that I've been working with for the last 20 years, and stuff that they've been through, because they're like almost like brothers to me, like some of these people, and just the stuff they went to, and how they showed up to work, and how they had to take off time from work, because and myself alone going through a divorce, it changes people, it affects people. And you have to realize, I agree, money is not an issue with anything when it comes to people's mental health and issues and personal issues and emotional baggage. And everybody has it, and I don't think athletes should be exempt from this whole thing, period. But like I said, the point is, being in that spotlight and not letting out your business is tough for the fans from their side to not pass judgment. So, that's my perspective.
Schefter, what do you got to say about it? Schefter, you there?
Sorry about that. My mic was muted. So you can look at
equipment. All that fancy equipment, man. Come on.
Don't even know how to freaking use it right. Anyway, so you can look at this in different levels. So from the 25,000 foot, hierarchy, you can sit there and say, well, everyone has a right to think whatever they want about anybody. All right, fine. But then it comes down to how are you expressing it, in what manner, right? And then I started to think about that. And by and large, I still side with Mike. You know me. I'm very logical, analytical. Yeah. I don't put emotion into things, right? So they're people too. They go to work. They have opinions. They have political views. They have their favorite foods. These athletes can say, "I hate pizza," and they're gonna get smashed. Right? Something as simple as that, all the way down to the other side of the spectrum of.
But they should.
Well, yeah.
If they hate pizza,
hates pizza, there's a problem.
Right.
Who trusts somebody who doesn't like pizza?
And then if any athlete kind of kind of shows whatever political side they lean on, and you're right, I'll give them more shit on the pizza than I get two shits about your political views. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because pizza is more important. But but it's really comes down to like how do you express it? If you're like in these type of media, at the barbershop. What happened?
Go ahead. You had froze for a little bit.
Oh, sorry. No, that's probably the internet. Then if you're talking with friends or like we are talking stuff, that's one thing to say, and have your point of view. But when you're actively not going on social media and you start going after these guys, and I see it all the time in Twitter, on fantasy football Twitter. You suck. You should die. You didn't get me these points. Blah blah blah. Like, and I'm sitting there like, yo, it ain't that serious, bro. And I got 15 leagues, and And yeah, sure, I'll sit there and say, I'll get mad, but I'm not gonna go on Twitter and start threatening a freaking athlete over it. Things like that. So to me, it comes down to is like it's the good thing is we have more access to these guys than before. The bad thing is we have more access to these guys than before. So and some athletes take personal offense to it because they pay attention to that shit and they shouldn't, and others don't care. And then I look at other situations. Like I look at, and I know a lot of people are having fun with it. I read it all the time. Having on Brady because he got pissed off, he threw a tablet, and people are having a field day, especially the ones that don't like him from the beginning, having a freaking field day. Like he's the first guy to throw a tablet or to kick a Gatorade container or to slam their helmet or whatever. So what? He had but hey, you know what? People talk about it. Like, oh look, he got mad. He's privileged because I saw him. I don't know if it was here. If OBJ does it, he's a diva. And
Brady someone else posted it. Yeah, someone in the group posted it.
Right. Well, guess what the problem is? It's not that Tom Brady has privilege. It's that you should look at OBJ as a diva. It's the same action. It's the same reaction, but you're judging the individual. And it's not that Tom Brady is not the problem in that comparison. It's the view of OBJ that's the problem because you shouldn't be viewing him like that. You know what I'm saying? He has a right because maybe something didn't go right or play, whatever it is, and he get frustrated. He kicked that freaking net. All right, he was pissed. He kicked it.
I don't think his dad kicked the net. I think that the net kicked him back.
Hey, but you know what I'm saying? Like that's where the real issue stands. But who controls that narrative? Not them.
No,
it's us, the general quote unquote court of public opinion. So at the end of the day, these things are not these athletes' problem. It's ours.
True. That makes a lot of sense. You're right. I think. You know what, Javito? What's your thoughts? What do you got?
I'm okay with athletes voicing their opinions. But back to the Brady thing. Throw a tablet. I have no problem with that. What I do have a problem though is when basically he gets treated a little bit differently when he doesn't get fined for going to the sideline and cursing out the coach, right? Mm-hmm. So that's when we start basically saying, why isn't he getting fined, right?
The Jordan rule.
Yeah, it's the Jordan rule.
Dudes are getting fined for uniform stuff that is like pathetic. And
exactly. And that's why I'm just there. Like, don't get me wrong. He could go out there and basically curse the guy out as much as he wants, but the NFL basically said it's okay. It's Tom Brady. So in a way, I'm just kind of like, I get who Tom Brady is. I get it. He's the GOAT, right? The GOAT quarterback. He's in that conversation. If not, he's top 2, let's just say. But at the same time, going back into the emotional thing, all these athletes right now are basically, like Pablo said, on social media, very accessible. Right. Mm-hmm. So when Pablo comes out and starts saying people from fantasy are going and attacking these guys just on social media. Oh, you suck. Don't get me wrong. I used to be one of those guys, I used to be one of those guys, but more one of those guys would be like, I hope you pull your hamstring next week. No career-threatening injury. Nothing.
I've done that a million times too. I don't want you to turn ACL, bro.
You know what, bro?
Just a cramp.
Little slight concussion, slight concussion. Especially
really
if I'm
bad diarrhea
against diarrhea at the beginning of the game, and you just can't come back in. You'll be fine in a couple hours.
So I don't know. Do these guys get upset? I remember hearing stories of them basically. Online just saying, yeah, this guy came at me and just basically started barking at me because I didn't get him enough fantasy points. So it's kind of funny how, this accessibility to these players now is just a lot more. And like Pablo said, it's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, right? Because we're constantly judging these guys. But all in all, man, we're all humans. We all have emotions. We all have opinions about anything and everything. And I swear to God, if anybody ever tells me pizza is not good, we're going to fight.
Okay, wait. Pizza in Georgia is not good. Pizza in this state is not good.
How's pizza down in Florida? How's pizza down in Florida?
It's all right.
Well, I got one. Ask Pablo. Hey, Pablo, we co-sign. I got a spot. One.
Yeah.
In all of South Florida, I know.
One here.
But that's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Even if it's but that's the whole thing with pizza. Even if it's bad pizza, it's not really bad. You know what I'm saying? Like you could still eat it and you're still gonna enjoy it.
Yeah.
Not as much as
we were seeing cardboard
had
and be happy about it Fridays at lunch in high school. Oh, we got pizza day. It was cardboard, bro, but it was pizza, so it was all good.
Who were the weird people that used to put the mayo? That used to put the mayo on the pizza. Bro. That was nasty.
Where would that should be shot?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
People used to do that, bro, in our cafeteria.
Just snap them out of existence and just get them out of here.
Hey, Kay, what do you got for us?
So the topic is how human beings can be mean. I agree, human beings can be mean. I think that's the problem. We solved it. Yeah, I mean, look, to some extent, yeah, you probably have some issues with your life if you're going online and you're knocking other human beings about stuff like that. I think, look, man, from a perspective of what they go through their families and sicknesses and unfortunate deaths and all of that, yeah, it's unfortunate, but we, to some extent, we do the same thing, right? Like if something happens like that, in most of our lives, you may take a few days off and you have to go back and perform your duties to be able to get paid to feed your family. I think that's actually somewhat of a commonality. But I also think to an extent, the guy, brings back the practice rant, because that was what Iverson was saying, right? Like, hey, but my best friend just died and you're asking me about practice when I'm out here putting all I can into trying to help us win games when my mind isn't here right now. And that was the whole thing behind that practice rant. So, you get ridiculed for it to some extent, but it's I guess also about the delivery. In the end, I think we all agree, man. We all agree that they're human beings, but I do think fans have some. Look, like I was thinking about this with Jalen Reagor getting clowned by the fans. Would he get clowned this way if he was a 6th round pick instead of a 1st? No,
probably not.
But he wouldn't get paid as a 1st round pick either. So I don't believe in going after somebody personally. But there's reasons why some people, especially when it comes to what cap space they're taking or where they were drafted, and that's more. You have to be mature enough to say that's more about the Eagles fans hating on, for example, Howie Roseman and his picks, or the GM and how the coach is using you, and combined with you not getting production, it's an overall unsatisfactory feeling towards the situation. Also, many times, especially when these athletes are younger, and you get paid a little bit more for those expectations. So in the end,
you get compensated. You're right. You do.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, I try to be nice to Javito. He tries to be nice to Jen. She tries to be nice to Pablo. Who tries to be nice to Sean. Who tries to be nice to Mike, man. So we'll improve humans one step at a time and understand that sports is passionate. And you're the fans have a right to talk, but yeah, don't cross a certain line.
So my thing has always been this. I always try to separate the art from the artist. I don't feel like I think of throwbacks, right? Our parents or whoever they cheered for didn't give a damn who that person was sleeping with. They didn't care. There was a lot of it. Like, if you go back in time, they didn't care who was an alcoholic. They didn't care who was a fall down drunk. They didn't care who was out at the club all night. They didn't give a shit about any of that, right? It's only our generation, this next generation, that really has that access, like we talked about, that access to these people. All right. And I'll give you an example of somebody, right, who, if we judged him as a person, dude, I don't even know if he'd be able to exist on Earth. Mike Tyson. If we judged Mike Tyson as a man, and we judged him, right, as a man, there'd be no room for him on Earth because of a disgusting human being he is. He's a disgusting human being. I mean, and not because of what he got accused of.
So
right?
Are we talking about still, or we're talking about what he used to be?
We're talking about even these are his words. Okay. What he's still capable of.
All right.
So he'll tell you this. He's like, "Yo, dude, I get high to cover this animal." You know what I mean? And I look at it like this. I'm like, I separate the art from the artist. I say, you know what? There's no more alcoholism, right, and DUIs in the NBA, NFL, MLB than there is in the general population. Okay? It's none. It's actually a lower number than it is in general population. There's a lower number of people getting arrested percentage-wise in the NFL, NBA, MLB than there is in the general population. There is a lower number of reported domestic violence within sports than there is in regular population. So we're judging these people through this rose lens, saying they're supposed to be perfect. But we're not judging them because they're supposed to be perfect. We're judging them because our life isn't perfect. And they're supposed to be our superheroes. They're supposed to be the tip of the spear. They're supposed to be the 1%. So we look at them and we judge them, right, with a skewed lens. And we expect them to be perfect. And when they're not, you know what I mean? That's a huge fall from grace. You know what I mean? And I think, so that's that part of it. And then we could address the other part of it. There's a lot of beautiful things that happen within sports and a lot of humanity that happens within sports. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that are doing beautiful things. There's the guy, Cardiff, the one that was the Chiefs guard. He plays for the Jets now. He took almost a whole year off to become a doctor and works in Canada against fighting COVID. You know what I mean? And there's hundreds of stories of these same people. I just don't feel like, you know how they say the squeaky wheel gets the oil? I feel like in this case, the squeaky wheel is everybody who yells and screams and wants to curse and vent and basically get it off their chest, what they're going through, and aim it at these athletes. At the end of the day, these athletes are human beings. Do they get a full pass? No, because I'm a believer is you get paid to play. You get paid to play. Sean cannot go to work, right? And because, today this happened, and I'm going to take a month off. No. Or you cannot say, I'm not going to perform today because this happened. No, you have to. You have to. You know what I mean? Now, do I understand performances are going to slip a little? Yes. But at the end of the day, I think Akil made a great point. He said, you actually get compensated. It's built into your contract, the drama you're going to go through. So when you get told you suck, guess what? That extra $1 million was put there because you were going to get told you suck. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of humanity in sports. I think we need to separate. Look at Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor is number one on a lot of lists as the best player all time in the NFL. Not just defensive, all time. And when you talk to anybody, they'll go, Lawrence Taylor. Dude, Lawrence Taylor is not the best human being. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, my whole point being this, we do a lot of what we look and judge these athletes based on is our lives, not their lives. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the guys screaming and yelling at the TV, bitching and moaning at LeBron and why he does this. Oh, he's such a pussy and da-da-da-da-da. A lot of it has to do with how they feel about their life. And very little of it has to do with LeBron. You know what I mean?
No. I'm going to stop. I'm going to say no.
Go ahead. Push back.
All right, because I don't look at it like that. I don't look at say it all like, you know, I wish I was LeBron and why is he acting like that? He should be tougher. You know, no. I grew up in an era where I watched basketball that was a little bit different. It was a little bit more physical, you know? So I got accustomed to watching a certain type of basketball that when I see the biggest guy on the court just flailing every single time he gets touched, I get offended by saying, like, what's wrong with you, guy? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you not – you're a physical specimen as it is. Why are you flailing like this? Yes, I understand that you're trying to basically get one over on the ref, but, like, you know, like there's that part of me that says that's why I like the era back in the 80s and 90s because guys just went at it. They got hit. They got back up. There might have been, you know, fisticuffs being thrown. But at the same time, you know, to me, they were more, let's just say, manly, right? As opposed to, you know, sorry, Jen, you know, just using the word manly because I just feel like, you know, the testosterone level should be a lot higher in today's game. But it's not. Oh, yeah. They're better athletes, but they're not as physical. But, you know, that's why I just say, like, I don't go there and I say, oh, you know, why is LeBron being a bitch? You know, because I'm not a bitch. No, I'm not saying that. You know, and I'm just saying he's a bitch because that's what he's being. That's what he is. You know what I'm saying? When he starts flailing and stuff like that. Top 2 basketball player in my lifetime. I still put MJ over him, but that's how great of a basketball player. But when he does that, you know, whatever you want to call it, you know what I'm saying? It's just, it's weak. It's weak to me.
He represents the generational change too.
Yes,
Correct.
Amen.
You
100%.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll just start by saying, I don't know about you guys, but you can tell by my background, I have a perfect life. I mean, come on. I don't want anybody else. But if you're in the Hampton Inn on a Wednesday night, your life is fantastic.
Would have been better if it was the Holiday Inn, man. I'm telling you.
There you go.
Every day the hotel gets less expensive the longer you're out. No, man, I think that's a generational thing. It's definitely. I think we actually all agree. I mean, from this point, we all agree. You don't want to go too far to a level, but you have the right to talk shit. You have the right to critique. You have the right to demand more out of the people that you're cheering for, especially if they're benefiting off your fandom, so to speak. But just don't cross the line. I think that's the main thing. Yeah. And going back to kind of Mike's point, I think it's absolutely you guys are both right in my opinion. Like it's 100% a reflection of how somebody thinks about their life to some extent, or for a lot of the people who do that. And then there's other people who do that who are like, no, I'm not mad at my life. I'm mad at the way the sport has changed and the product that I'm actually just watching, and you represent that to me. So I'm gonna take that out of you.
Yeah, you're right. That makes sense. And we made a lot of good points on that topic. And
before we close this topic, guys, it's on a similar. You ever watch the Jimmy Kimmel when he has the football players read the mean tweets? That shit is funny. That adds right to this.
Great. That is gold.
Yeah, that adds right to this whole topic. Like some of those things.
Some of the stuff that they say, it's like
you actually see some people get annoyed when they read it. You see some of the guys get annoyed when they read it.
Yeah, it's like, yo, you know what the best is too? When people read their draft, like what they said about them in the draft.
How about Madden? Yeah. They get mad at their Madden ratings.
Oh, their Madden scores.
They freak out.
That is hilarious.
It would be like it would be like a 5-year-old talking crap to you while you're walking by them, because you can't do anything. You have to listen to it if they're there. Like,
you don't know me. I'm kicking him in his ass. All right, guys. So we're moving on. We're gonna move to the next topic. All right. So on our thread, Mike Tyson recently made some comments about Floyd Mayweather, and he said he can't be the greatest. All right, there was an era where people were fighting, 50, 60 fights in a year, and for a guy to be 50-0, it's not a big deal to him. And he talked about how Julio Cesar Chavez, and he name dropped all these different boxers. And he said how they're the greatest and Floyd's not the greatest. I say this. I don't think there's a debate. I think among some people, there's a debate on whether he's the greatest of all time. All right? I'm not one of those people. But I do, if I wanted to go into this era, I say he's the greatest of this era. And then people will throw Manny Pacquiao out there. All right? So it becomes a debate. Of what style do you like? Who do you want? Who do you pick? Manny Pacquiao or Floyd Mayweather? So I'm going to put it out to the crew. And for whatever reason you choose, it could be outside of boxing, it could be inside. I'm not going to hold anybody to their criteria. But I'd like to go around and we'll keep it to Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. Who do you think is the greatest of this era if it was down to those two? Sean, who do you got?
Oh, just as much as this pains me to say this, I'd have to go Mayweather. It's driving me crazy. As much as, and believe me, I hate his style of boxing. I loathe it. I'm a boxing, fan, and nothing like the boxing from the '80s and stuff like that. But for this generation, I would have to say Mayweather. I love Pacquiao as much as I love Pacquiao. I love his fighting style. I love what he did in the ring. Love him as a human being. Love the stuff he did outside of the ring. I would have to go Floyd Mayweather. I always prayed for this dude to get knocked out. It never happened. It just is, his style is just boring, but it works. It just works, and you got to give him credit for that. I'll give you an excuse. I'm not a big hockey fan, but I'm a little bit of a hockey fan. But back in the day, the Devils used to win a lot of Stanley Cup championships, and they played the worst, probably the most boringest hockey you could ever see in your life. But it worked. Yeah, defense. Exactly. It's defense. It worked. And that's what Floyd did. He reinvented the game in his era for the way his style of boxing that nobody could come to. Could he have fought Manny Pacquiao earlier? Hell yeah. But again, it's a business, and who knows what the hell went on behind the scenes with all that stuff. But as far as if I had pick one of them, I have to go Mayweather being the greatest of this generation.
El Schefter, what do you got?
So I'm not a big not that I'm not a boxing fan, but I don't have a lot of knowledge in boxing like Mike does, and Sean, you just said you are. So I kind of will apply my same principle that I apply like in football and Sean, you touched on it in other sports. I tend to favor or enjoy when something is done strategically, thought out, and usually in sports, defense. To me, when you're able to actually slow down or stop your opponent that is an offensive juggernaut labeled, regardless of what sport it is, I think I appeal more to that. In that, and since I don't know much about boxing styles. But to me, to think that you've been able to establish a career and have a strategy of being a defensive fighter and just attack when at the right quote unquote times, I think in boxing, I think that's pretty big. You know what I'm saying? Just to be able to have that knowledge, you're fighting different guys all the time that have different styles offensively, and so you be able to fathom a strategy and how to kind of defend it and then attack, just to make sure that you guarantee your win. I think there's something to that, And versus a boxer who just comes at you, starts throwing a million punches at you, it just starts wailing and flailing and swinging at you. I think if you're able to slow someone like that down in a combat sport like that, to me that appeals more. Just like in football, I tend to like when a defense slows down, like I said, slows down an offense. I tend to like that. So that's why I would, if I had to choose, I would lean towards that from a boxing perspective, even though, like Sean said, I don't like Floyd either. But who cares? Because it goes back to our previous topic. It doesn't care. Who cares whether I like the guy or not? You're boxing out there, but I'd like what you're doing on, in the ring.
Sure. Jen, what do you got?
Okay, so I'm not a big boxing person, but I've watched enough. I've watched both of them. I've watched Canelo. I like that. I agree with Pablo, the fact that Floyd stays on the defense and gets his key hits in when he needs to. I like that. I think as a boxer, he's a better person. But stepping outside of that box, like Mike had said, if we wanted to.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely, yeah.
I'm a bigger Pacquiao fan, just because he is huge when it comes to social justice. He is actually running right now to become the president of his country. He is a huge supporter of his fellow man when it comes to his home nation. So as a person, I'm a bigger fan of Pacquiao, but as a boxer, I have to give it to Floyd on this one.
Okay. Sounds like a plan. Javito. Dun, 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 dun.
Here we go.
Let me just say this.
You got notes.
I'm just gonna look, man. Mayweather is the greatest defensive fighter I've ever seen in my life. Mm-hmm. But I want entertainment, man. I get bored watching a Mayweather fight, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, name me that fight that you talk about when it comes to Mayweather. Like, oh, you remember that fight? Huh? None.
Yeah.
You don't talk about the top 10 fights in your life that you've seen in boxing. None of them are Mayweather. None of them. Because he's so defensive. Now, don't get me wrong.
He's always, yeah,
like, that's the concept in boxing, right? You know, get hit and not get hit. So I get that part. You know what I'm saying? But he fought 50 times and he's technical knockouts and knocks out 27. Like, this guy was not a guy that was in there to throw to get me excited. You know what I'm saying? I was like this most of the time watching his fights. Is it over yet, man? Like, we know he's gonna win. We know how he's gonna win. It's gonna go late into the fight. Like, look, man. You know what? I'll take Manny Pacquiao. I'll take a Manny Pacquiao fight any day over a Mayweather fight. Any day. As a matter of fact, you know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, I'll take Bernard Hopkins. I'll take Shane Mosley fights, Roy Jones Jr., Oscar De La Hoya, Costa Sue, Eric Morales, Ricky Hatton, Lennox Lewis.
Ricky Hatton.
Felix
What What about Paulie Malignaggi?
But that's what I'm saying. I'll watch any. I'm not going to say I'm a boxing aficionado because I'm not. But I'm there to watch a fight. I'm not there to watch somebody basically be so defensive. Pablo, I got you. You know what I'm saying? Because I agree. You know, when it comes, being from North Bergen, when you played football, it was about defense. You know what I'm saying? And running the ball, just grit. You know what I'm saying? Defensive, just strategy. You know what I'm saying? Stop the other team from scoring. You know what I'm saying? That's as we know as Giant fans, that's how we won Super Bowls because of our damn freaking defense. You know what I'm saying? So I get that, but in a combat sport, like a one-on-one, I want to see some action, brother. I want to see somebody get bloodied the hell up. You know what I'm saying?
You're a UFC guy, right?
Yeah.
So in a similar argument, what do you think about Khabib? Because he had a similar style, bro. He was defensively, he wore you down, and then eventually just started pounding you, bro. Like towards the end of the fight. So his fights were kind of boring, but like, dude, the dude just like dominated.
He was super effective, of course.
Yeah, just dominated.
But at the same time, I'll take that as a Mayweather. Like, I know what I'm gonna go watch if I watch that. The good thing about it is that there's 4 other freaking cards right before that to watch.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a difference.
You'll get an entertainment.
You're gonna get entertainment somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, he's a big draw. Like if you fought Conor, obviously that would go through the roof again. Yeah. But we know who's gonna win that fight just because he's just so good technically, defensively wise, that he's not gonna let Conor even come close. And that's what Mayweather is. But again, when it comes to contacts, I want entertainment value. So if I'm going to pick as the greatest entertainer, it's not Mayweather. It's not Mayweather. It's not even close. But again, that's just my opinion. You know what I'm saying? They want to call him the GOAT, call him the GOAT. But to me, he's not.
Akil, what do you got? What you got, AK?
You're muted.
I have trouble talking about the GOAT when you're talking fighting game, right? Because there's so many different sizes. It's been going on for generations. The GOAT is a tough term for me. I'll just go into the question of who was the fighter of that generation, decade. Was it Manny or Floyd? And when I think about that, and I back up a little bit, right? Like in the 1980s, up until I was 1 to 10 years old, you can obviously make the argument that you had a very, very powerful kind of mid-round divisions. You also had the end of the heavyweight era, so to speak. You had the beginning of the Tyson era, happening. After that, I think unquestionably the best fighter of the next generation was Roy Jones. Just dominant until he wasn't anymore. And then you go into this Floyd and Manny. And I got a few points on this. So number one, Javi said it. You hit. You don't get hit, you win fights. That's what boxing is about. Your record matters. You have 50-0 record. Nobody's beating you. Besides that 50-1 record, you're talking about accomplishments like 26 consecutive world title fight wins, 23 in lineal title fights, 24 against former or current world titleists, 12 against former or current lineal champions, 4 against Hall of Fame inductees. Manny's going to be there next. That's the plus. It also makes you wonder, why is Floyd a villain? Now, partly he made himself that way, of course, but his fighting style is not villainous, right? Like he's not saying, I'm going to destroy you and I'm going to eat your kids, and then going out there and beating the holy life out of you and leaving dead people on the canvas. Like he's actually fights like what they would say a good guy would do, which is, that whole Bruce Lee and, make sure you're one with mind and body and don't get hit and be fluid and win. So it's funny that he ended up the villain with that fighting style. And I think there's a lot of things that go into that. And obviously he perpetuated that towards the end because any publicity is good publicity. I think Manny is more of like the Rocky, right? Like, he'll go out there and also probably some of you guys have seen him. Some of you haven't. If you enjoy boxing, do yourself a favor, watch the pre-famous Manny fights. Watch when he was fighting in the lower divisions with, Morales and Barrera, and like, dude, this guy threw his chin out and fought, man, and he fought, and that's why he lost. And so that's something that we like to see. That's the underdog. That's the guy who's like, you know what, I'm going to throw my chin out there, and if I get hit, I'm going to get back up and try and still win. And so I think from a style perspective, I'll just wrap this up by saying, from a style and exciting perspective, there's no question it's Manny Pacquiao. From a strictly who's the best fighter of the generation, I think it's Actually, fairly closer than most people do. But you have to go Floyd. And as far as the best ever, yeah, I think Mike Tyson makes some fantastic points, which are you didn't fight as many people. It was different time. I wouldn't say Floyd is the greatest boxer of all time, but I would say he's one of the greatest boxers of all time.
He's not about Rushmore.
Boxer of his generation, with Manny a very close 1B.
Okay, so I'm going to go here with it. Let's start off by saying this. You guys say his fights are boring. He owns 5 or 6 of the top pay-per-view draws ever. So the public doesn't agree with you. It's a spectacle when Floyd Mayweather fights. It's an absolute show. It's a showstopper. There's nothing the UFC could put on. There's nothing the NFL could put on. There's nothing, and this is fact, that they could put on that will trump a Floyd Mayweather fight. Floyd Mayweather fights have to 1 million people stop to watch what he's doing. There's nowhere else that happens. Conor came close when he fought Floyd, and he's come close here and there. But when you look at the numbers, it's not even close. The first 5 out of the 10 top pay-per-views ever are Floyd Mayweather. So the general public doesn't agree. It's a spectacle. Maybe not the actual fight, but him fighting his 24/7, all the lead up, the training, all the shit talking, everything is a circus around him.
The circus with his father is hysterical too.
And with
The father and the uncle.
With his RIP, his uncle. Yes, it's a show, but that's the Floyd Mayweather effect. Floyd Mayweather effect. People go watch him because they want him to lose. Now, here's the second argument, second part of the argument. You talk about how you named all these fighters that you rather watch fight. Okay? I say this. Yes, you're right, because that's how bad Floyd made them look. That's how bad Floyd made them look. He made them, these great fighters, look average, so it got boring to us. It's like, oh, this isn't fun. He's making a great fighter that in any other ring, any other time, any other fighter, against any other fighter, looks spectacular. He looks like he's lost in the ring. Number 3, he fought Manny head up. Here's the thing. People say he was washed up. Oh, why did he wait so long? How old was Floyd Mayweather when they fought? Thank you. Look that up. He wasn't. There wasn't a big age gap. Number 1. Number 2.
Nothing about the age gap. Nothing about the age gap because we know Mayweather's older. The fact is that at the time when Pacquiao was at his prime, we know Mayweather didn't really want to fight. And
That's
No, we don't. No, we don't. Listen.
That's
how
true.
about this?
What are you talking about? Why did it take? Why did it take 6 years, Mike? Why did it take 6 years then, Mike?
Olympic testing.
Yeah,
All right.
like, you know
Olympic
they
style
could have got it
testing.
done if he wanted to get it done.
Stop it, bro.
Come on.
Olympic style testing.
Come
He
on.
said, I want Olympic style testing. And Manny said, no, the blood in the needle makes me weak.
No.
All of a sudden, wait. There's a timeline here.
There's a lot of timelines.
He comes off the juice. He fights Marquez off the juice. Gets splattered on the ground.
What juice?
The whatever PEDs he's on.
The supposed juice, right? The one that
They both could have been on PEDs.
wasn't that the time that he also started running for senator? You know what I'm saying? Started doing other things in his life. You know, that didn't main focus.
Okay, how about this? I'll give you another argument.
I'm just letting you know.
Timothy Bradley
every
did
great fighter-
Olympic style drug testing.
Mayweather picked the right time to fight him.
He lost
Every
without-
great fighter,
He didn't
every
want
great
it.
fighter
He didn't want
that
it.
Manny beat, every great fighter Manny beat, De La Hoya, Cotto, Mosley. I mean, De La Hoya, Cotto, damn it, man.
Patton.
Right. He beat them after Floyd fought them.
Got you.
much more exciting.
After.
Much
Gotcha.
more exciting than what
Knocked him
Floyd
out.
did in
Killed
the
him,
ring.
as a matter of fact.
Much more.
No.
You
Destroyed him.
can't say Floyd's pay-per-views are not a function of how exciting of a fighter he was.
Yeah,
and people,
I mean-
it was a function of him not having lost. And since he
Yeah.
hadn't lost,
People
he
wanted-
was back.
yeah.
What you said.
Nobody wanted to miss the knockout, like him getting fucking his look.
You could see tomorrow the Jaguars play the Jets on national TV, and it's going to get more views than if the Tampa Bay Lightning are playing the Colorado Avalanche in the NHL. That doesn't mean it's more exciting. It doesn't mean
Right.
it's more. Right? What I mean, like,
And I'll push back.
I'm
And I'll
into the
push
whole
back.
spectacle. It's a spectacle.
Yeah, but I'll push back on that because the Super Bowl is a bigger spectacle than any Floyd fight. Because you said anything the NFL could put together, the Super Bowl every year is a bigger spectacle. Because you
Yes,
said 1
you
million
put the
people.
culmination. Think of what you just did. You put the culmination of an entire season And all that money that the NFL machine corporation,
there are people that watch the Super
person,
Bowl. There are people that watch Super Bowl that don't watch a damn lick of football all year, bro.
Against one person. Think of what you just did.
Think about how many people
the NFL machine.
You're going to tell me when 50 million people watch the Super Bowl that all 50 million people watch the NFL all year long?
No.
How many people have you ever met in your life that go to a Super Bowl party and that's the only time you're going to get exposed to Super Bowl?
No, yeah, I agree with you on that.
What numbers would the Super Bowl have if it was pay-per-view?
Last year, the Super Bowl had 96.4 million people tune in.
That was COVID. Come on, man. Where was everybody?
China?
Okay, but Mike, the biggest number you said is 1 million people will watch a Floyd fight. And
no. What I'm saying, paid. Remember, that's 1 million people that paid $50, $60, $70 to watch that. 1 million people that paid that.
That still pales in comparison.
Mike has a point.
What do you pay for cable?
Yeah. No, but here, listen to this. Okay, so now I just said it. You had the NFL machine. You're comparing the NFL machine and everything it's got in that one game against one person, Floyd Mayweather, one person. That's crazy to me.
Mike, the next big boxer is going to beat Floyd's records, don't you? I mean, you know what I mean? You don't agree with that? The next big time boxer is going to beat Floyd's records.
Listen, every generation has its talent. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying, if we're comparing him, I say right now, every boxer that Manny Pacquiao beat, Floyd Mayweather beat them first. So what are you saying? He got them after they were worn down, after they were beatable, after there was a strategy and a blueprint already laid out?
What's the
right? When we talk about Floyd Mayweather,
he didn't follow a blueprint, and they weren't.
He went to go knock him out. That's it.
When we talk about Floyd Mayweather, you know what we talk about? The times that he got touched. Oh, he got touched once. Ooh, yeah, because Maidana touched him twice in that fight. Ooh, oh my God, this guy touched him twice. That's what we talk about.
You're absolutely right, because I never ever talk about him hitting somebody hard. That makes me say, "Oh wow, look at that punch."
Ricky Hatton?
Hit him hard.
Ricky Hatton?
I'm the only probably guy
Miguel
that
Cotto?
ever. Nah, Miguel. You know who got Miguel Cotto? You know who got Miguel Cotto? Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah.
Manny Pacquiao got.
After.
And it's the hardest he's ever been.
After he fought Margarito, when he wasn't the same.
He said it was the hard. He said it was.
He
the
said
hardest
it himself. He said it himself, Cotto. All right.
Listen to me. He fights two guys, and they have no idea they were even in a fight. They're looking around like, what happened? What just happened?
I got you, Mike. I'm never gonna take that away from Mayweather, but like excitement, man. Like you're right. The whole spectacle around it, besides the fight, might have been the whole like wow. But the fight itself, it's like.
And I don't think he fought a lot of great fighters. Like I just told you the accomplishments, which sound fantastic.
You don't think he fought a lot of great fighters?
Exceptional fighters? No, I don't. Exceptional. He fought
De La
really
Hoya?
good ones.
Miguel Cotto.
La Hoya was done at that point, Mike.
La Hoya was at the end.
De La Cotto. So then he was done when he fought Manny Pacquiao, right?
Correct.
All right. So he was washed up. That doesn't count.
You saw it. You saw what
Marquez,
Manny
Pacquiao did that. They all three of them had those two fights for money.
Marquez.
Not because anybody really wanted it.
From 2007.
Manny Pacquiao. Marquez.
2010.
Those are the two.
Cotto.
Those are the two. I think Cotto was not. Cotto was on the level below Pacquiao.
Mosley?
He wasn't on their level.
Mosley
was also on the level right below Pacquiao and Mayweather. He wasn't on their level at that point either.
Okay, so I don't know, man. I don't.
Like when you look at the other greatest ever, like you look at people like, and who's the biggest names you're talking about? Joe Louis, I guess. You're talking about Muhammad. You're talking about Ray Leonard.
Ray, that generation.
These guys had 3, 4, 5 other legit dominant people of their generation. Floyd had one, and he didn't fight him until late.
Manny Pacquiao beat Keith Thurman, a top five welterweight today.
Yes.
Yet we're gonna say he was past his prime when he fought Floyd.
Oh, he was, and it's the way he fought.
But that's
he took a lot more punishment, Mike. You know,
sorry,
he took a ton more punishment in his career.
He wasn't in his prime anymore. I would say Mayweather's prime spanned it a lot longer than Pacquiao's prime. You know what I'm saying? Prime Pacquiao was 2007 to 2011. That time, and that's when Mayweather wanted no part of him, bro. You don't wait. They started negotiations in 2009. You don't wait 6 years and say, you know what, the hell with the lipid testing now.
Yeah, the fact that they all fought every other common opponent and not each other just tells you that there was like everybody else agreed to the terms with each of them, but they couldn't agree to the terms themselves. And Pacquiao didn't care. This isn't to take away from Floyd. Like I said, he's the fighter of the generation, but I don't know that he's the GOAT, like unquestionably. That's tough.
That was one of the other things that Tyson did basically state. He was picking. You know what I'm saying? He was picking and choosing. Bro, you don't when you want to be called GOAT, you fight everybody at that moment, bro. You don't wait 6 years.
It's funny because he only did that to one person, and now it kind of almost defines him too. Right? Like that's what people say the most too. Not just he never got hit, but he didn't fight Pacquiao.
Then he fights the guy and he makes him look pedestrian.
But that was late. Manny wasn't that anymore, man.
Wait,
Manny the basketball player.
So
Manny
what are we
the
saying?
senator.
He had a resurgence. He had a resurgence later in his career. He fought boxers that weren't as good. He stayed a little. He had gone down a level. He stayed at that bottom level for a while, and even now, like he shouldn't be fighting, man. You know what I'm saying? Like he went like this, but he wasn't fighting Mayweather or Marquez anymore. Okay. What? Okay, Marquez is another one. Floyd Mayweather destroyed him.
Yeah, he did. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the fights that built up his legacy.
That's what I'm saying. So
nobody's denying it.
We're talking about excitement. If we're talking about excitement, then what is Arturo Gatti the GOAT?
No, but it's the same reason people watch
Jersey, baby. Yeah,
bro. That trilogy was one of the greatest fights ever, though.
That's just the way it is.
Ward Gotti to this day is my favorite trilogy ever. Like, I'm sorry, I could rewatch it 1,000 times.
Yeah, no, it's phenomenal.
Yeah,
phenomenal. What was that bar in Jersey City we used to go to? He'd be hanging out.
The ringside.
No, it was actually another one. It was another one. He talked like this. He was like, "Hey, how are you? Hi, my name is Arturo."
Foxes.
You little. What do you call it? Good time. All right, well, I guess we're gonna have to agree to disagree on this one, man. And it'll be the LeBron Jordan argument. It'll be the Brady the GOAT argument. It's gonna fall in that category. But I'm sticking with my man Money Mayweather, making people look pedestrian. He made the greats look average. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm going to
still not a bigger spectacle than the Super Bowl, though, so it doesn't matter.
I think that got on the Pablo's skin, that comment.
It was utterly stupid. I was like, are you serious? How are you going to compare?
How is it stupid, Pablo? I'm literally comparing a machine, the NFL, with all its people, right? And all its money and all its backing, all 32 teams now gets a focus on one game. All these things. Proportionate, I think, pound for pound, if you look at it,
that's a stupid argument. That's a stupid argument to make one boxer's fight more of a spectacle than a machine's efforts to make something a spectacle. Just on that logic alone, it doesn't make sense.
Why do you say that? I want to hear why you say that. I'm just trying to tell you.
You're making an argument. The NFL
there is not a player in the NFL.
You're saying the NFL is doing all this to make this one game big. They have all this power to make it big, and it has millions and millions upon people. So that's a spectacle, right?
Yes.
And you're saying that one boxer's fight once a year is a bigger spectacle than that.
No. What I'm saying is that it takes the NFL to compare
matter.
to one person. There's not a player in any sport, not an individual player, any sport that you can compare. Putting up numbers,
but that's not your point that you made.
That is my point. My point is it takes 32 teams and a machine to create the Super Bowl, right? To create a spectacle. Meanwhile, because they can't do it individually. And I'm comparing that to what one human being can do.
But that doesn't make his result bigger than the other result. At the end of the day, when you look at
no, I'm not saying it's bigger. I'm not saying it's a bigger result. What I'm saying is it's. I'm going to say what I'm saying is I'm going to quote. It's a bigger. What I'm saying is that. What it takes, that's what we're comparing it to. We're comparing so it's no longer you can compare Floyd Mayweather's event to anybody else's individual situation. You have to compare Floyd Mayweather's event to a Super Bowl.
And it's still not bigger.
No, it's not bigger.
Because
what I'm saying is that's what you have to compare it to.
Your point originally was there's nothing the NFL can put together that is bigger than the Floyd Mayweather fight. That was your original point. That is what I'm getting you on. And that is absolutely.
There's not an individual player the NFL could throw out there.
That's not what you said.
There's not an individual player in any sport. No, what I said was
because if you're going to say that I will agree with you on that point. There's not one individual player, but you said the NFL.
the machine to compare to Floyd Mayweather. There's nothing individually that matches up against Floyd Mayweather.
That's not what,
that's
that
what I'm
wasn't your
saying.
original. But that wasn't what you originally said. I will agree with that. I will agree on that. But your point to say that there's nothing NFL can put that is bigger than that is utterly ridiculous because it's a Super Bowl.
Okay, Pablo, so I stand corrected. You are right about the individual, about the sport. It can't match. But what I'm saying, just so that we're clear, is that that's what it takes. That's the level Floyd Mayweather's on.
That's fine.
Floyd Mayweather cannot, you don't compare him to Conor. You don't compare him to any of these other guys.
I'm not going to argue that.
No. He's a step above. The next thing with him is, event-wise, it's Floyd Mayweather, and then the only thing bigger is maybe the Super Bowl.
That's all.
And after that,
that's all I was challenging you on. I'm not going to challenge individual fighters.
Jake Paul, bro.
Listen. The highest pay-per-view buys that ever was against two. Manny Pacquiao.
Manny Pacquiao, De La Hoya, right?
No, Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd. That was the highest pay-per-view buys.
That was the highest. Gross, yeah.
So, like, it just kind of shows you, even though washed up Manny was still freaking there, because there was a lot of hopefuls thinking like, oh man, I hope I see 2009, 2010 Manny. That's all that was. You know what I'm saying? But we all knew he wasn't the same Manny.
What a coincidence that all of a sudden the drug testing gets a little more serious and all of a sudden we get average Manny.
Bro, he was a senator. He was a basketball player. He was a lot more than just a boxer, is what I'm trying to say.
Hey, all right. Hey, listen, we could agree to disagree. I'm with it. I'm cool with it. I think that we pretty much buried this topic. I agree with Scott.
But I just went and looked. You know that Mike Tyson-Roy Jones fight is basically the 9th top pay-per-view?
That is it. Yo, but I'm not even going to hold you. I was 100% invested in that fight, bro.
Me too. I couldn't wait.
Invested in that fight, bro.
When I heard about that, I know you said take my money. I remember that, and I'm just there like, take his money because I'm not watching that, man.
Dude,
these guys are over the hill.
I was so nostalgic, 100%. I don't know what the hell I thought I was going to watch. I ended up watching Two Drunk Uncles at a barbecue, but I swear to God, I thought I was going to watch like 1980s, 90s. You know what I'm saying? That's what I thought I was getting. Bro, when I saw two dad bods, I was like, all right. Yeah, they got me. They got me, bro. All right, so we got a hot take. Sean, hit us with your hot take before we close out.
This is going to cause a lot of controversy already. I already saw some smiles and smirks when we mentioned this earlier. But 2 weeks ago, I was on the fence. We even brought up this topic last week, I think, in our little pre-meeting. Micah Parsons, how could you not argue for him being Defensive Player of the Year? That's all I could say. I was on the fence about it 2 weeks ago. I would probably go against it, but just watching some game films, watching what the guy produces on the field, I know you could argue the 17.5 sacks from TJ Watt, excuse me, and I know you could argue Aaron Donald, but Parsons is a hybrid linebacker that has been moved all over the place in all different games this season. If this guy lined up just as a straight-up edge rusher, there's no doubt in my mind he'd be right up there with the 17 sacks that TJ Watt has. If you dropped him back as just to be a linebacker, he would have 100 and something tackles and be up there in the league. And my man's covering wide receivers, like in pass coverage, okay? Not tight ends, which normally a linebacker gets put on. He's covering slot wide receivers. So 2 weeks ago, I was on the fence. I didn't even want us to draft this dude, to be honest with you. I was hoping for Patrick Surtain. But they drafted this guy, and I cannot say that he convinced me now that he should be Defensive Player of the Year. I'm curious to hear everybody else's thoughts on this hot take.
Well, first off, let me just say fuck the Cowboys. All right.
Well, you read my mind. I was going to ask you that part too. So I verbally retweet that statement by Javi. Second of all, he's definitely the defensive player, the rookie defensive player. You know,
yeah, hands down. I
think if he doesn't win it or is not considered for it this year, he's at worst 2 years away from it. At worst, if not, it'll probably be sooner. It could probably be as easy as next year. So, you know, you and I, Mike, were talking early before everybody else got on. We were talking about it, and you know, is he a candidate for sure? I think he's you know, if you forced me to rank the candidates right now, I would put him 3 behind Donald, and I have TJ Watt at the top right now. And you know, so and we were talking about this, like, I guess it depends what your criteria is, because if you're like when you're doing weights on, you know, your formula, if impact is high in terms of just the sheer versatility, like you said, Sean, how versatile he is. Let's take it easy on covering receivers. Freaking one time that we know about it. You know what I'm saying? Like because we hadn't heard of
it was more than one game.
I know, but we hadn't heard of Peep.
That, yeah.
We hadn't heard of Peep about it until this past week. Look, he covered a freaking receiver this week. So, you know, from at least from outside of the Cowboys fans who watch every snap. You know what I'm saying? But like media wise, we hadn't heard of Peep until this past week. And like, look, he covered a receiver. Now, if he starts doing that shit regularly, now we're having made a different conversation because now he's branching out. Now he's really, you know, separating himself from what Aaron Donald is in the middle and what TJ Watt is on the end, just a straight up end attacking the quarterback. But I don't think I would put him, like I said, this year. If TJ Watt continues playing, how he is, he has 17.5 and he gets close to that record, I think he'll end up winning it. I think his general stats are a little bit better in totality, not by much. Than Micah Parsons or even Aaron Donald. So that's what I would give it to TJ, but it's not by a long shot. It's not by a mile. It's definitely not like that for me. It's not, there is no runaway for me for TJ or Aaron, and if Micah Parsons balls out the rest of the year and these other two guys kind of plateau and Micah starts disrupting and, I don't know, I forgot how many sacks he had. I had the stats up earlier. I don't think he has that many sacks, but
no, it's not. It's at 10, I think it's 11, but I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, but that's why impact is also big because it's always that argument, when you, especially on the defensive line. Yeah. If this guy's getting the attention, then somebody else is eating on the other end. That's why Aaron Donald gets what he gets because that's what he does. You know what I'm saying? He gets the attention, and he eats sometimes, or quite more often than a D tackle would. But he also, as Floyd, was able to eat, on the other side and things like that. So I still think he won't win it this year, but he is a candidate. And I think at worst 2 years from now, but I think probably next year, he's got a full year. He's got to see the NFL offenses. He'll just continue to evolve. He's the guy I wanted the Giants to take. He was my first selection, that I wanted him to take this year. And behind that was, I think, Devontae Smith, or it was a lineman. I forgot what lineman it was. But he was a guy I wanted the Giants to take because of those things that you said, because of that versatility, because of what he can do. And I'm still pissed that they didn't get him. So I'll end it with that.
Jen, who you got?
So
Jen, what are your thoughts? Yeah,
I'm going to stick with Watt for this season. He's slowly showing more and more every year. So like 2 years ago, he was at 14.5 sacks. Last year, he was at 15, and this year he's at 17.5. And I want to see that progression in a Player of the Year. I want to see them getting better and working hard to earn that. But that doesn't count out who you want. It's just I don't think this is going to be his year.
Okay, I'm with it. Go ahead, Javi.
So I don't think he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year. Not that he's not deserving of it. If they were to give it to him, I would say like, yeah, it's good with me. Well, TJ Watt, man, like he hasn't played a full season and he's got 17.5 sacks, man, and he leads the league. So like here he is. He's only played 12 games. Micah Parsons has played all 14, and TJ Watt basically has more forced fumbles, more fumble recoveries, more sacks, so just imagine more QB hits, and we're talking about a team in Pittsburgh that, if you take him off, man, that defense is just not good, just not as good anymore. I can't say that about the Cowboys because the Cowboys do have a decent defense, even though Micah Parsons might be the leader right now. DeMarcus Lawrence is still somebody to mess with. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a big player on Van Der Esch, but he's still a solid linebacker. Diggs out there is basically intercepting anything that comes around him. So that defense as a whole is playing very good, and Micah Parsons is leading that defense. But right now, I got to give it to basically TJ Watt, man. I just don't see definitely Defensive Rookie Player of the Year. I just don't know about Defensive Player of the Year, just for the fact that TJ Watt has 2 less games and he's basically has better stats. And that's pretty crazy to think about that.
Okay. AK, what are your thoughts? Your mic is muted, AK.
Yep. Hot take. I got a hot take. The Cowboys should hire Jimmy Johnson. I think
agree.
for their franchise.
Yeah, I'll sign up for that, bro. Any day of the week, bro.
I think they got problems in the booth. Look, all right. I'll be on. I'll be serious for 1 second. First of all, I'm going to pretend you're not a Cowboy. Props to you, Micah Parsons. Growing up where I grew up, we always looked up to the Penn State guys outside of Philadelphia. He was a beast in college. I wasn't sure what would happen with him missing his last, like purposely not playing, but turned out to be a good move. And from a personal level, I wish him the best. From going back to the question, nobody talks about Myles Garrett. I mean, he leads the league in sack percentage over, minimum 300 snaps. He's broken their record over there. He's only one behind TJ or two behind TJ right now. It seems like his turnovers always lead to points. Dominates the line of scrimmage. I think Michael Parsons is not yet like to win it as a rookie. You can't just be among the names. You have to far away blow people out. You can't just be among the group to win it as a rookie. So for that reason, I'm going to say that Michael Parsons is going to get beat out by Watt or get beat out by Garrett, and obviously you can give it to Darnold every year, and you won't be wrong. So I like this podcast a little less that I have to talk about the Cowboys for the last 1.5 minutes. But I'm here to do my job. I'm here for you guys. So, I'll suck it up, if that's what the group wants.
All right. I don't think he's going to win it. I think he's good enough to win it. I think he's an impact player. I think that he's a 5-tool linebacker, 3 downs, which is very rare these days. I think he needs to piece together body work, like Jen said. I think the NFL is shying away from giving it to one-hit wonders. So we need to see a second year of him being at the level, performing at the level, when people have also had film on him. You know what I mean? I think that kind of means something. Like you see TJ Watt, again, the progression, he's kind of like earned his bones, where now you're looking at him as, he's the next guy up. I think eventually it will be Michael Parsons' turn, but I don't think he will get it this year, but I think he's phenomenal. I think he's a new era linebacker. You don't take him off the field. You know what I mean? If it's a passing down, he stays on the field. If it's a running play, if he's got to get to the quarterback, I mean, he does benefit from having these monsters on the line aside from him. But he did show that he has the for the lack of a better word, the balls when they were out. So I think he's phenomenal. But I think, I don't think this is here. I don't think this, not yet. I think he needs to piece together a year or two of dominance before the NFL starts to acknowledge and really push him to give him the award. You know what I mean? And that's my.
The NFL's ready to crown Justin Herbert already, though. So I guess if you're blonde-haired, blue-eyed in Southern California, that don't apply.
Yeah.
They're looking. They're always looking for that, that next name to push. But yeah, the NFL has a funny way of humbling you, man. Once people have film on you,
especially at that position.
Especially when they have film on you, man. They got a couple years of film on you. They get to study why all these fourth-year quarterbacks are struggling or having down seasons. You know what I mean? These defense coordinators, man, they're evolving and they're getting better. You know what I mean? So
I got a hot take.
Go ahead.
Tyler Huntley is better than Lamar Jackson.
Ooh.
Wow, that's crazy, Usman. I mean, Javi. Shout out to Usman.
I did that just for Usman right there, bro. You read my mind, Pablo.
Yeah, that's great. All right, scores for tonight. Sean, we got Niners versus Titans.
Niners versus Titans. I'm going to go out of desperation. The 49ers need this game, so they're going to keep it close. I give you a 17-14 49er victory.
Okay. We got Schefter.
I got 27-17 San Francisco. I just think that team's offensive structure is just hard to beat. You got Debo, who can do everything. You got Kittle, you can put him anywhere. You got Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback, you can put anywhere. And then just pick a running back there. Whoever's healthy, and he'll be running fine. And that defense is playing really well. And speaking of a defensive player, I think the candidate, even though Nick Bosa, You know, he probably runs out that top 5 that, between Parsons, Donald.
He'll probably win comeback player of the year this year, probably.
Yeah.
So he's there, and Garrett, the other guy. I think those are probably the top 5 on that NFL Defense Player of the Year. So, yeah, I just think, that unit is just, that offensive unit and Shanahan's play calling is just too much right now. They're on fire, and that's a team that the NFC top tiers, they don't want to see that team in the playoffs.
Oh, wow.
I don't, because they're just going to just run it on you down your throat, and then just as long as Jimmy G doesn't mess it up, they're going to be hard to beat.
Yep. Okay, Jen, what do you got?
So I got my pick from Ariana because why not? It's Thursday Night
That's the
Football.
winner. That's the winner.
And why not? And she liked the colors of the 49ers better, their uniform. So we're going to go with them. She said it's going to be
glittery.
Yeah, it's just prettier.
It's glittery.
It's gold.
Yeah.
It's gold. She's
So,
a female. It's
exactly. Let me tell you, she got a toy ring the other day. She was telling everybody it was real diamonds. So her future man is in trouble.
Yeah, for real.
So she said 27, 17, and she was going with the 49ers.
Smart.
Nope.
See that?
Javito, what do you got?
All right. The 49ers, 29.
Yeah.
And the Tennessee Titans.
24.
No,
he's gonna start doing decimals. 24 and a half.
I'm gonna say 16. I'm just gonna say, man, without Derrick Henry, you're seeing Ryan Tannehill not that good. You know what I'm saying? It's becoming more and more apparent. Like, he really relies on the running game.
Okay.
So the way the San Francisco defense is playing, they're just going to be geared to stop that running game, to make Ryan Tannehill win the game. And he's not going to do that. So 49ers 29, Tennessee Titans 16.
Go
ahead, AK.
Yeah, I've thought long and hard about this. I think the Titans of Tennessee are going to find gold digging with the 49ers of San Francisco. I'm going to go Tennessee Titans with the victory, 24-20. They have something to play for too, and that's a number 1 seed. The 49ers, I hope, are going to get dropped out of this playoff race because I just don't, think that they're that good, and they're not going to win anything, and they're the 49ers. So I'm also going to go against the 49ers because of their colors.
Yo, I'm rocking with you, AK. I'm saying 21.
The saltiest of the catch from who knows 30 years ago. Seeping still in there for that pick.
21-17 Titans. 21-17 Titans. Why? I don't know. I'm just going with that. 21-17 Titans. Because I like their colors. I don't know.
Why not?
The Bills and things happen.
Exactly. 21-17 Titans. That's what I'm going with today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. Make sure to comment, share, like, let your friends know about the Sports is My Love Language podcast, especially if sports is your love language. Chime in, let us know. We're always hyperactive on our group. We're always replying to comments. We're always dropping different memes. If you have memes, drop them down there. Let us know what your thoughts are on whatever we're talking about. And we want to appreciate you guys coming out tonight and joining us. Enjoy your holidays, everybody. This has been the Sports is My Love Language podcast, and this is the cast. I'm your boy Dropping Dimes, and peace. We are out of here.
Merry
Christmas. Merry Christmas.